The night shift at the Jodrell Bank Observatory was usually quiet. Most nights, Thomas Parker would sit at his desk, drink his tea, and watch the steady stream of radio signals from space. Tonight was different. "That's odd," he muttered, adjusting his glasses. The signal pattern on his screen didn't match anything he'd seen before. It wasn't random noise from a distant star or the regular pulses of a pulsar. This was structured, repeating every 12 seconds with perfect precision. He reached for his phone and called Dr. Mary Wilson, the head of the astronomy department. "Dr. Wilson, I think you should come see this." 20 minutes later, Mary stood behind Thomas's chair, her eyes fixed on the screen. Her usual calm expression had been replaced by something between excitement and concern. "How long has it been broadcasting?" "First picked it up about an hour ago. It's coming from somewhere near the Orion Nebula, but it's like nothing we've ever received before." Mary nodded slowly. "Send it to the main computer. We need to analyze this properly." Within hours, the quiet observatory had turned into a hub of activity. Dr. William Hayes from the cryptography department arrived, along with his team of 3 analysts. They worked through the night, running the signal through every decoding program they had. "It's definitely artificial," William announced as the sun rose over the English countryside. "The mathematical patterns are too perfect to be natural. But here's the strange part. It's using quantum encoding methods we've only theorized about. Whoever sent this is far more advanced than us." Mary paced the room, her coffee going cold on the desk. "Have you noticed the power signature? It's focused, like a laser beam. This wasn't meant to be picked up by everyone. We just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Or the wrong place at the wrong time," Thomas added quietly. The signal continued for 3 days. News spread quickly through the scientific community, but the British government managed to keep it out of the mainstream media. They set up a special task force, bringing in experts from around the country. Dr. Helen Brooks, an expert in alien contact protocols, studied the signal patterns with growing unease. "Look at these symbols," she pointed to a series of repeating patterns. "They're not just random. They're formatted like an address, but not for us. The mathematical base system is different from anything humans use." "You mean this message wasn't meant for Earth?" asked Richard Turner, the government liaison. "No," Helen replied firmly. "This was meant for someone else. Someone who understands quantum mathematics at a level we're just beginning to grasp." But the government saw an opportunity. Despite Helen's warnings, they decided to respond. The message they sent back was simple: a series of prime numbers, followed by Earth's coordinates encoded in the same quantum format they'd received. "This is a mistake," Helen argued in the final meeting. "We're like children finding a letter meant for adults and deciding to reply. We don't know what we're getting into." Richard dismissed her concerns. "We can't pass up this chance for first contact. The signal is clearly from an advanced civilization. Think of what we could learn." They sent their response using the most powerful transmitter they had, modified with new quantum technology they barely understood. The message beamed out into space, heading toward the signal's origin point near Orion. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. The original signal had stopped, and the night sky remained quiet. Thomas went back to his regular shifts, watching the stars and drinking his tea. Then, on a cloudy Tuesday evening, every computer screen at Jodrell Bank lit up at once. The new signal was different, stronger, more urgent, and this time it was aimed directly at Earth. Helen was the first to decode the opening sequence. Her face went pale as she read it. "Oh God," she whispered. "It's a warning. The first message wasn't for us. It was for them. The Guardians. And now they know we're here instead." Thomas looked up at the cloudy sky, wondering what they had just gotten humanity into. The tea in his cup had gone cold, forgotten, as the implications of their mistake began to sink in. Far above the Earth, something was already moving in response to their signal, something that had been waiting for a very, very long time. To be continued. Dr. Oliver Matthews stared at the screens in the British Space Research Centre's main control room. The new signal had been broadcasting for 6 hours straight, and its intensity was growing stronger. "Emma, what do you make of this?" he asked, turning to Emma Thompson, their quantum communications specialist. She sat hunched over her computer, her red hair tied back messily as she worked. "It's encrypted differently from the first message," Emma replied, typing quickly. "Much more complex, almost like it's angry, if that makes any sense." James Wilson, the military liaison, paced behind them. His uniform was crisp, but dark circles under his eyes showed he hadn't slept. "Can you decode it?" "Working on it," Emma said. "But we need Rob's help with the quantum computers." Robert Clark arrived 20 minutes later, carrying his laptop. The AI systems engineer looked worried as he plugged into the main system. "The patterns are unlike anything we've seen. Even our best quantum computers are struggling." They worked through the night. As dawn broke over London, Dr. Margaret Bennett rushed into the room. The xenolinguistics expert held a tablet in her shaking hands. "Stop the decryption," she said urgently. "I found something in the original signal we missed." Everyone turned to look at her. Maggie pulled up an image on the main screen. "See these symbols? They're not just mathematics. They're warning signs, like a keep-out notice. The first message was meant for advanced guardians of some kind. By answering, we've told someone very dangerous that we're here instead." Oliver felt his stomach drop. "And now they're responding to us." "Yes," Maggie said quietly. "And they're coming." The room fell silent except for the humming of computers. James immediately got on his phone, speaking in hushed tones to his military superiors. Emma suddenly sat up straight. "I got something. The new message, its coordinates, multiple sets of them, moving toward our solar system." Rob's computer beeped loudly. The AI's finished its analysis. "These aren't just regular ships. Based on the energy readings, they're massive. Bigger than anything humans have ever built." "How long?" James asked, his voice tense. "At their current speed," Rob checked his calculations. 2 weeks, maybe less." Oliver made a decision. "We need to try contacting the original intended recipients, these guardians. It might be our only chance." They worked frantically to modify their quantum transmitter. Emma barely left her station, sleeping on a cot next to her desk. Rob's AI systems ran countless simulations, trying to perfect the message. On the 4th day, they were ready. The new message was simple but clear, a call for help, explaining their mistake, encoded in the same quantum format as the original signal. "Transmitting now," Emma said, her finger hovering over the button. Everyone held their breath as she pressed it. The response came faster than anyone expected. Just 3 hours later, all their systems lit up again. "It's different," Emma said, studying the patterns. "Not from the hostile force. This is something else." Maggie worked quickly to decode it. Her eyes widened as she read. "It's from them, the Guardians. But," she trailed off. "But what?" James demanded. "They say they're already here, have been for thousands of years, watching, waiting." She looked up at the others. "They say we've just started something that's been building for millions of years." Oliver looked out the window at the evening sky. Somewhere up there, 2 ancient powers were moving, and Earth was caught in the middle. "How do we prepare for this?" James asked quietly. "We can't," Oliver replied. "But maybe that's not the point. They wanted advanced guardians, and instead they got humans. Perhaps being underestimated is our greatest advantage." Emma's computer beeped again. New signals were appearing, coming from somewhere much closer than expected. The game of cosmic powers had begun, and humanity had just been forced to play. To be continued. The discovery came from an unexpected place. Dr. Oliver Matthews was reading old files about strange structures found deep under the North Sea when everything suddenly made sense. "Look at this," he said, spreading photos across the conference table at the British Space Research Center. "These aren't natural formations. They're ruins." Emma Thompson leaned forward, studying the underwater images. "How old are they?" "At least 50,000 years," Oliver replied. "And they match the quantum patterns we've been receiving perfectly." James Wilson frowned. "You're saying the Guardians built these?" "Not just here," Maggie Bennett added, pulling up more images on her tablet. "Similar structures have been found near every major ancient human settlement. We just never knew what they were until now." Rob Clark's computer suddenly beeped. He had been tracking the incoming hostile ships, and something had changed. "They're speeding up," he announced, his voice tense. "New arrival time. 3 days." The room erupted in activity. James immediately called his superiors, while Emma rushed to her quantum communication station. "The Guardians are responding again," she said, fingers flying over her keyboard. "They're activating something. Oh my God." Deep beneath the North Sea, ancient machines were waking up. Military satellites caught the energy signatures, massive power readings unlike anything they'd seen before. "They're not just ruins," Oliver realized. "They're bases, defense stations. The Guardians have been protecting Earth all along." A new signal reached them, clearer than any before. Maggie translated it quickly. "They say we need to be ready. The hostile force. They call them the Harvesters. They don't just destroy civilizations. They take them, collect them. And they've been looking for Earth for a very long time." "Why us?" James asked. "We're not that advanced." "That's just it," Maggie explained, excitement in her voice. "We're different. Most species develop their technology first, then reach for the stars. But humans, we dreamed of space long before we could reach it. We made art about it, told stories about it. The Guardians say that makes us unique." Rob's screen suddenly filled with new data. Energy signatures are appearing worldwide. More Guardian bases activating. Australia, Egypt, Peru. They're everywhere. Emma received another transmission. "The Guardians want to meet. Face to face." Oliver looked at James. "This has to stay quiet. If people find out." "Agreed," James nodded. "Where's the meeting?" "Stonehenge." Maggie read from the translation. "Tonight." As the sun set over the ancient stone circle, 4 black cars pulled up quietly. Oliver, Emma, James, and Maggie stepped out, accompanied by armed guards. The stones cast long shadows in the fading light. "Are we sure about this?" Emma whispered. Before anyone could answer, the air between the stones began to shimmer. A tall figure stepped forward, humanoid, but clearly not human. Its skin seemed to shift colors like oil on water, and its eyes held an ancient intelligence. "We have watched your kind for a very long time," it spoke in perfect English. "We saw your cave paintings of the stars, heard your myths and legends, watched you reach for things far beyond your grasp." More figures appeared, each different from the last. The Guardian continued. "The Harvesters seek perfection. They collect species at their peak, preserve them forever. But humanity, you are beautifully imperfect, always changing, always dreaming. That is what they fear. That is what they want to destroy." "How can we fight them?" James asked. The Guardian turned its shifting gaze to him. "You already are. Every story you tell, every dream you dream, every impossible thing you reach for. That is your weapon. We will give you the tools, but the spirit, that has always been yours." Above them, the stars began to fade as dawn approached. Somewhere up there, the Harvesters were coming. But here, among ancient stones that had watched humanity's dreams for thousands of years, a plan was forming. Humanity's greatest test was about to begin. To be continued. The morning after the meeting at Stonehenge, Oliver Matthews found himself in an underground chamber beneath the North Sea facility. The walls glowed with a soft blue light that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. "Incredible," Emma Thompson whispered beside him. She held up a device the Guardians had given them, a small crystal that pulsed with the same blue glow. It's responding to the room. Rob Clark studied the readings on his tablet. These crystals, they're not just power sources. They're like computers, but they work on thoughts and feelings instead of numbers. The Guardian who had spoken at Stonehenge, who they now called First Speaker, stood watching them. Its color-shifting form seemed at home in the ancient chamber. Your ancestors saw these lights, it said. They painted them in their caves, wrote songs about them, built monuments to remember them. Even when we hid ourselves away, you never forgot. James Wilson arrived with urgent news. The harvesters' ships are visible now. Regular people are starting to notice them in the sky. We can't keep this quiet much longer. Then we won't, Oliver decided. First Speaker, you said humanity's dreams were our weapon. What did you mean? The Guardian moved to the center of the chamber. The harvesters believe in perfection. They take civilizations at their peak, preserve them forever like insects in amber. But humanity, it touched the wall, making patterns of light spread across the surface. You dream of what could be, not what is. Your stories imagine better worlds, worse worlds, different worlds. You are never finished, never perfect. That is your strength. But how does that help us fight them? James asked. First Speaker held up one of the crystals. These respond to imagination, to creativity. The harvester's technology is perfect, but rigid. Yours can be anything you dream it to be. Emma's crystal suddenly blazed bright blue. In the air before her, a small model of the solar system appeared, created from pure light. I just thought about it, she said, amazed. And it happened. Over the next 2 days, they worked to understand the crystals. Each person used them differently. Emma created complex displays of information. Rob linked them to his computers, creating interfaces that responded to thoughts. Maggie found she could use them to translate any language instantly. But it was Oliver who made the biggest discovery. During a test, his crystal started showing scenes from his childhood, times when he'd looked up at the stars and dreamed about what might be out there. The memories make it stronger, First Speaker explained. Your personal connection to the stars, to exploration, to dreams, it gives the crystal power. James immediately saw the potential. We need to share this. Not just the crystals, but the truth. Humanity's dreams and hopes. They're not just dreams. They're power. The decision was made. As the harvester ships grew closer, governments worldwide began releasing the truth. The story spread. Humanity's ancient connection to the Guardians, the threat of the harvesters, and most importantly, the power of human imagination. People everywhere were given crystals. Children's drawings came to life in glowing light. Artists created impossible things from their dreams. Musicians made songs that could be seen as well as heard. Every dream, every story, every imagined possibility added to Earth's defense. The harvesters won't understand, First Speaker said, watching news reports of people worldwide discovering their new abilities. They see only what is. You see what could be. That is why they fear you. That is why they will fail. In orbit, the first harvester ships entered the solar system. Their massive forms blocked out stars, perfect and terrifying in their precision. But Earth was ready, not with perfect weapons or flawless plans, but with something far more powerful, billions of minds full of dreams, hopes, and impossible ideas, all connected through ancient technology that turned imagination into reality. The real battle was about to begin. To be continued. The harvester ships arrived on a Tuesday afternoon. They came in perfect formation, 7 massive black shapes that blocked out the sun. People around the world stopped and looked up at the sky, holding their crystals tight. In the control room beneath the North Sea, Oliver Matthews watched the main screen with Emma Thompson and James Wilson at his side. Rob Clark's fingers flew across his keyboard as he tracked the ship's movements. They're scanning us, Rob said. Looking for defenses. First speaker stood nearby, its shifting colors moving faster than usual. They expect missiles, weapons. They do not understand what awaits them. The first harvester message came as a burst of cold mechanical code. Maggie Bennett translated it quickly. They're demanding our surrender. They say they'll preserve our greatest achievements and delete the rest. Delete? Emma asked. They mean? Yes, first speaker answered. They would keep what they consider perfect and destroy everything else. Your art, your music, your dreams of tomorrow, all gone. James stepped forward. Send the response we prepared. All around the world, people held up their crystals. In every city, village, and home, billions of human minds focused on a single thought: hope. The crystals lit up all at once, not the gentle blue glow they were used to, but a bright, living light that reached up into the sky. Each person's dreams and imagination fed into it, making it stronger. The harvester ships stopped. Their perfect formation wavered for the first time. They're confused, Rob reported, watching his screens. Their scans can't make sense of what we're doing. The energy isn't following any patterns they understand. Then something amazing happened. In New York, a young girl with a crystal imagined a giant butterfly made of light, and it appeared, flying between the harvester ships. In Tokyo, an old man thought of ancient dragons, and they soared through the sky. Over London, scenes from beloved stories filled the air: spaceships, magical creatures, heroes of legend. The harvesters responded with force. From their ships came beams of pure black, trying to cut through the light. But everywhere they struck, they met not weapons, but stories, dreams, hope. It's working, Emma shouted, watching the energy readings. Their weapons can't lock onto anything because everything keeps changing. First speaker moved to the center of the room. Now, Oliver, show them who humanity really is. Oliver held up his crystal and thought about every dream he'd ever had of the stars, every story he'd read as a child, every time he'd looked up at the night sky and imagined what might be out there. The crystal blazed in his hand. Around the world, others joined in. Parents shared tales with their children. Artists poured their visions into the light. Musicians filled the air with songs that became visible, dancing through the sky. The harvester ship's perfect formation broke completely. Their black beams flickered and faded. They're pulling back, Rob announced. Their systems are overloading. They can't process all the different patterns. A new message came from the harvesters. Maggie read it with a smile. They're asking what we are. They say we're not following any known rules of civilization. Tell them, Oliver said. Tell them we're human. We don't follow rules. We dream them up. We don't seek perfection. We seek possibility. And we're just getting started. The harvester ships retreated to the edge of the solar system, but everyone knew this wasn't over. It was just the first test, a glimpse of what humanity could do when they stopped trying to be perfect and started being themselves. They'll be back, James said, watching the ships withdraw. Yes, first speaker agreed. But now they fear you, and fear is the beginning of change. Above them, the sky was still filled with light and stories, dreams taking flight among the stars. To be continued. 3 days after the first battle, Oliver Matthews noticed something wrong with his crystal. The usual bright blue glow had grown dimmer, and the images it created seemed weaker. It's not just yours, Emma Thompson said, checking her readings. It's happening everywhere. The crystals are losing power. In the underground command center, Rob Clark's computers showed alarming data. The harvester ships haven't left, he announced. They're still at the edge of the solar system, but they're doing something. Sending out some kind of wave. First speaker moved quickly to the main console. Its color-shifting form had turned darker, more troubled. They are adapting. Learning. They seek to dim your dreams. James Wilson arrived with reports from around the world. People are getting tired. It's like they're forgetting how to imagine, how to hope. Maggie Bennett was the first to understand what was happening. "The harvesters are trying to make us perfect," she said. "They're sending out a signal that promotes order, logic, and strict patterns. They're trying to suppress our creativity." They watched as the effects spread. Children stopped playing make-believe. Artists stared at blank canvases. Writers found themselves unable to think beyond simple facts. The wonderful, chaotic energy that had driven back the harvesters was fading. "We need to do something," Oliver said. "But what?" First speaker touched one of the walls, making ancient symbols light up. "The harvesters believe they have found your weakness, but they do not understand. Dreams cannot be killed. They can only be sleeping." Emma suddenly sat up straight. "That's it. We're trying to fight their signal, but we should be using it instead." She ran to her station, crystal in hand. "Look at what they're sending. Pure patterns, perfect order. But what happens when you dream about patterns?" She held up her crystal and focused. Above her head, perfect geometric shapes appeared, but then they started to change. Squares became houses. Circles became suns and moons. Simple lines transformed into stories. "They're giving us the building blocks," she explained excitedly. "We just need to remind people how to play with them." The plan came together quickly. They would use the harvester's own signal as a foundation, but transform it through human creativity. First speaker helped them modify the guardian bases to amplify the effect. "Everyone needs to remember," Oliver said. "Remember what it was like to be a child, when every shape could be anything, when every pattern could tell a story." The message went out worldwide. Don't fight the patterns. Change them. Dream with them. Play with them. Slowly, things began to shift. A young boy in Brazil saw the perfect geometric patterns in the sky and turned them into a flock of paper airplanes. An old woman in Kenya looked at the ordered lines and transformed them into traditional patterns that told ancient stories. The harvester's signal became a canvas for human imagination. Everything they sent to suppress creativity became fuel for even greater dreams. "They're responding," Rob called out, watching his screens. "The ships are moving again." But this time, something was different. The harvester ship's perfect formation showed signs of change. Small variations appeared in their patterns. Their strict order began to waver. "They're learning," first speaker said softly. "Some of them are beginning to dream." A new message came from the harvester ships. Maggie translated it with wide eyes. "They're asking questions, not giving orders. Asking. About stories. About dreams. About change." "What do we do?" James asked. Oliver looked at the crystal in his hand, now glowing brighter than ever. "We do what humans have always done. We share our stories. We teach them how to dream." Above Earth, the harvester ships continued to change, their perfect black surfaces beginning to show the first hints of color. To be continued. The first harvester landed on Earth 1 week later. It chose a field near Stonehenge, its once perfect black surface now swirling with patterns of blue and gold. Oliver Matthews, Emma Thompson, and James Wilson stood with first speaker as the ship's door opened. The harvester that stepped out wasn't what anyone expected. Instead of a cold, mechanical being, it looked like flowing metal given life, its surface rippling with colors just like first speaker's. "We come to learn," it said, its voice musical rather than mechanical. "We have forgotten how to change." First speaker moved forward. "You were like us once," it said to the harvester, "before you chose perfect order over growth." The harvester's surface rippled with new colors. "Yes, we thought perfection would make us strong. But your dreams, they woke something in us. Old memories, lost songs." But even as they talked, Rob Clark's urgent voice came through their communicators. "We have a problem," he said. "More harvester ships are coming. Hundreds of them. And these ones aren't changing." The colorful harvester's surface darkened with concern. "The Great Collection has noticed the change in us. They come to preserve their perfect order." In the command center, Maggie Bennett translated urgent messages from space. The main harvester fleet is saying that the changed ships are corrupted. They want to delete them. Start over. Emma looked at her crystal, then at the changed harvester. Your people forgot how to dream, but you're remembering. Maybe you can help them remember too. The harvester touched its own ship, making colors dance across the surface. We were taught that change is chaos, that dreams are disorder. But your stories, they create patterns too. Living patterns, growing patterns. Oliver had an idea. The crystals respond to imagination, to creativity. What if we linked them to your ships, showed your people directly what dreams look like? First speaker's colors brightened. Yes, the guardians and the harvesters were once the same people, before the split. Before some chose rigid order and others chose endless possibility. Perhaps it is time to heal that ancient wound. They worked quickly. Around the world, people gathered at guardian bases, holding their crystals. The changed harvester ships positioned themselves in orbit, ready to amplify the signal. They would fight perfection not with weapons, but with dreams. The main harvester fleet arrived like a wall of darkness against the stars. Their message was simple: return to order or be deleted. Now, Oliver said. Every crystal on Earth lit up at once. But this time, they didn't create random dreams and stories. Instead, they showed the story of the harvesters themselves, their past, when they too were dreamers. The changed harvester ships amplified these memories, broadcasting them to their former fleet. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The dark fleet held its perfect formation. Then, slowly, a single ship's surface began to ripple with color. Then another, and another. It's working, Emma shouted, watching the readings. The memories are waking them up. The changed harvester spoke softly. We forgot that perfection isn't an end. It's a beginning. A perfect canvas waiting for dreams to fill it. Across the fleet, more ships began to change. Their strict formations dissolved into flowing patterns. Their black surfaces bloomed with colors never before seen on Earth. First speaker turned to Oliver. Your people did more than defend themselves. You reminded two ancient races how to dream again. Above them, the harvester ships danced in new formations, no longer perfect but beautiful in their chaos. Earth's crystals glowed brighter than ever, filled with old dreams and new ones. Human imagination reaching out to touch the stars. But in the depths of space, something else stirred. Something that saw the change in the harvesters not as beauty, but as a threat to the very order of the universe itself. To be continued. The warning came from the edge of the solar system. Something vast was approaching. Not a fleet, but a single enormous ship that seemed to swallow the light of distant stars. What is it? Oliver Matthews asked, staring at the images on the command center's main screen. The changed harvester's surface rippled with dark colors. The origin. The first perfect being. The one who taught us to abandon dreams for order. First speaker's form grew dim. We have wondered where the divide between guardians and harvesters began. Now we know. Emma Thompson's crystal pulsed with unusual patterns as she took readings. It's massive. Bigger than anything we've seen. And it's empty somehow. Like a void in space. Rob Clark's computers were struggling to track it. It absorbs everything. Light, radio waves, even our crystal signals. Like it's trying to erase anything that doesn't fit its pattern. The Origin's message reached Earth, broadcasting in every language at once. Order must be maintained. Imperfection must be removed. Dreams are a disease that must be cured. James Wilson watched as military satellites went dark, swallowed by the approaching void. How do we fight something that erases everything we throw at it? Maggie Bennett, who had been quietly studying ancient Guardian texts, suddenly looked up. Maybe we don't fight it. Maybe we do what humans do best. We surprise it. Oliver understood immediately. It expects resistance, defense. But what if we just share? The plan came together quickly. Every crystal on Earth would focus not on fighting, but on sharing their dreams with the Origin. The changed harvesters would amplify the signal, while the Guardian bases would protect Earth from the void's effects. It's never encountered anything it couldn't simply erase, first speaker said. It doesn't know how to handle being welcomed. As the Origin approached Earth, they put their plan into action. But instead of resistance, every crystal on Earth started sharing stories. Children's dreams of adventure, old tales passed down through generations, hopes for the future, images of what could be. The huge void ship hesitated. Its perfect darkness began to show ripples of confusion. Keep going, Oliver encouraged through worldwide broadcasts. Show it everything, every dream, every story, every possibility. The changed harvesters joined in, sharing their own reawakened dreams. The Guardians added their ancient memories. Earth became a beacon of imagination, broadcasting endless possibilities into the void. The Origin's surface began to change. Points of light appeared in its darkness, like stars being born. Its next message was different, confused. This is not order. This is not perfection. This is, I remember, I once. It's remembering, Emma shouted. It used to dream too, before it chose perfect order. The void ship's surface erupted with color. Not just one or two colors, but every color imaginable, swirling and changing. The ship that had tried to swallow light was now creating it. I remember, the Origin broadcast. Before order, before perfection, I was a dreamer. We all were. Guardians, harvesters. We were all one people who dared to imagine. First speaker stepped forward. And now we can be again. Not perfect, not flawed, but always growing, always dreaming. The void ship transformed completely, becoming a swirling canvas of light and color that lit up the solar system. The changed harvesters flew to meet it, their ships dancing in new patterns. The Guardians activated their ancient bases, adding their own light to the display. Oliver looked at the crystal in his hand, then at the people around him, humans, Guardians, and changed harvesters all working together. We answered the wrong signal, he said with a smile. And by doing so, we helped 3 ancient races remember how to dream again. Above Earth, the light show continued as 3 civilizations celebrated not perfection, but possibility. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if they too were dreaming of what might be. The end.